Hey everybody, welcome back to our channel, Kono Pro. In this video, we're going to be turning some trash into cash. There's this little coffee table sitting over here next to my neighbors in front of their house, and they were throwing it away. And I thought, wow, solid wood, it's still in good shape, just a few little, loose legs. Besides that, it's a really good piece, so I figured it was worthy to shabby chic. So when I take a piece of furniture off the street, it's very rare that I do this. I used to do it a lot when I needed the money, and it was a very good side hustle for me. As if I saw a piece of furniture on my way home from one of my jobs and it looked nice and it was a good quality product, I would take it out and I would shabby chic it, and I would have a couple boutiques that I would be able to bring the pieces there, put them on consignment, work out different deals with different boutique owners, and they would always take the piece. Okay, and they usually always sell within a few months, no matter what. So that's how we're going to turn some trash into cash. So stay tuned in this video and you'll see how we do it. So first off, we inspected the whole piece. Everything looked really great and sound except for those two wobbly legs. And all we do is just tighten the screws in, put a little glue, and we're going to call that good. And then we're going to get to shabby chicing this piece. Alright, step 2 now, we're going to be knocking off all the clear coat, okay? We're just going to basically rough up all the clear coat so that way it'll take on the paint that we're going to, be painting this with. But also what you want to do is you want to rough up the edges and remove some of the old finish to expose some of that fresh raw wood. Because when you're shabby chicing it, you're going to be putting on layers of paint, clear coat and stuff like that, sanding in between, and you want when you sand in between the paint, and it's going to reveal some really cool grain and textures and different colors, different tones. So this is how you do it. You go first through it with a palm sander. And a lot of people would say, don't use a palm sander, you can ruin the piece. Very true. You have to move really quick. You don't leave the palm sander sitting in one place at all. You move it fast, fast, fast. If you can see, I'm constantly moving it. And you'll get the hang of it, but you might want to try it first just with some hand sandpaper. It's a lot harder to do it with the hand technique, but if not, once you master the palm sander, then it helps you speed this process on, a lot. So what I'm doing is I'm going to go through all the high points, a lot of the corners, a lot of the edges. I'll expose the raw wood like I did there, okay? And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and wipe it all down, and then we'll start our painting process. I'm about to sand the drawer here in a minute, and some of you will probably notice how I sand the hardware knobs. When you sand them, they're brass knobs and it gives them a little bit of a rough edge, and then when you paint them as well, I always like to do that when I shabby chic because then it looks really vintage. And then we're going to go through later, and when we do the knockdown, finish on our sandpaper, and it exposes a lot of the colors and tones in between. It looks really cool when you do that. Alright, after we have all the sanding done, we're going to go ahead and wipe it down with a damp cloth, and you're going to want to rinse that cloth off. You don't want it too wet. You don't want to soak your piece, or you'll have to let it dry for a day. And then you wipe it all down, wipe it down until you can run your hand along it and pull your hand off, and there won't be any dust left on your hand. Okay, once that's done, then you're ready to go ahead and rock on the painting. And you'll see the top of that table had a little damage on the old veneer and stuff like that. That's fine. You see how we sanded it? We exposed some of the original grain, and then when we paint it, we're going to expose that section there, and it's going to look really worn and, you know, really used in those areas, and it really helps the piece have some uniqueness and really cool details. Okay, now we're about to start the magic. So what I like to use is a high quality interior paint and primer paint. Okay, and I like to use the paint and primer paint because of course we expose raw wood and stuff like that, and you want it to really bond well with the piece. So if you use a paint and primer paint in one, it really helps the paint bond to the piece. We do put a clear coat to lock it all in and seal it in later, so it's a very solid coat once you're done with it. So again, we're using a flat interior paint and primer paint, and it's just an ultra pure white that I just got off the shelf at your local hardware store. You can go to your hardware store and find different colors. Sometimes they have, you know, people messed up on colors and they return them or whatever, and you can get those for really cheap. And you can throw some colors, incorporate some colors into the shabby chic-ing as well. It comes out really cool. So we're throwing it on really quick, heavy coat, and we're going to get in between all the grooves and everything. Just watch out for drips, okay? Then I like to put it in the sun to let it dry real quick. You let it dry for about an hour, then you start your knockdown shabby chic-ing technique, which is basically just 150 grit sandpaper, running it over all the high edges and exposing the grain. Stay tuned. Alright, here we go. We're starting our shabby chic technique. We're going to start sanding everything down. We're doing it with the hand technique. You can use a sander for this too, but sometimes it's a little too much and takes off a little too much. You can control how much is removed when you're using a hand sand. You know, just basically take a sheet of sandpaper and fold it up into a square, and you can use it in your hand. You can put a little block, you can use a sanding square, whatever you'd like. You know, to make it easy for you, and of course you want the finish to come out how you want it. So while you're doing it, you'll sort of develop your own little techniques. But what I do is I just take 150 pieces of sandpaper, fold it up into 4 pieces, and just go to town and start sanding it all, and you see all those areas that I sanded before. Now they're gonna come through, and it's gonna show some of the stain coming through, some of the darker coming through grain, and then it's gonna show a lot of that natural wood grain that I exposed before. And that's really awesome. And then see right now, see the knobs are painted, but when I sand it again with the 150 grit, it'll give it a really cool look. The brass will shine through the paint. It really looks vintage and awesome. And you can take some 220, which I do too at the very end, knock down the top and get everything just a really quick hit with some 220. It really helps everything blend in and really give a nice smooth finish. Alright, we got everything knocked down and sanded, and I'm really liking it. So now After it's all wiped down and cleaned and prepped, we're going to go ahead and hit it with some clear coat. We're using a Varathane Interior Low Odor Varathane Ultra Clear Coat finish. So it's a crystal clear finish. It doesn't dry like a polyurethane will have an amber finish. Sometimes when you're shabby chicing, you'll like that amber finish. It turns the piece a little bit yellow and it makes it look really vintage and old. In this case, I want it to still look really crisp and white, so I use the crystal clear finish, and it's a satin finish. You can use a matte finish, but I like the satin because it gives it just a tiny gloss to make it just look a little bit more high quality. Okay, so here I am putting on the clear coat, and I just do one really good thick coat, watch out for drips, and then I put it out into the sun and let it dry, and then we're ready to make some cash. Alright, now we got all the clear coat on, we're all finished off, and now we have it out in the sun soak and dry. We're going to let it dry for about an hour or two, and then we're going to take it up to the boutique and get it on display so we can turn this trash into some cash. You see that black piece I did over there on the side? This is one of those projects that if you need some quick cash, or something to do on the side from your regular job, or you just don't have a job and you want to start doing something, you're artistic, go out and look for some pieces on the side of the road. Go to a garage sale, buy a couple for $5 each, and then throw some paint on it, some sandpaper, spend another $20 on that and a couple hours of labor, and then you can display it at a boutique just like this and hopefully get some cash out of that. It may take a little while to sell, but they usually sell pretty quick. These pieces are unique. They're really custom and awesome, and I always recommend that you protect yourself. Wear a respirator. Make sure you protect the areas from all of the sawdust of your sanding any of these kinds of things. You never know what's on the existing finishes on these old pieces and stuff like that. So always protect yourself and your area when you're working on pieces like this. But once you have all that taken care of and you figure out your product and the way you do it, there it is. Trash to cash. That's how we do it. Know-pro. Peace.